Be honest. What are you doing right now? Working, getting ready for work, or recovering from work? Your alarm goes off at 6:47 a.m. An hour later, you are in a box under fluorescent lights, and someone else decides what you do for the next 8 hours. That is modern life. But here's what nobody tells you. For 290,000 years, none of this existed. No jobs. No 9 to 5. No alarm clocks. So what did ancient humans actually do all day before jobs existed? The answer is not what you think. And once you hear it, you will never look at Monday morning the same way again. Let us start with a number that will change how you see your entire working life. Modern humans spend approximately 90,000 hours working over the course of a lifetime. That is roughly 1/3 of every waking hour you will ever have, spent doing something someone else told you to do, in exchange for money to survive in a system you did not choose. Now here is the number that makes that one disturbing. Hunter-gatherer societies that still live the way our ancient ancestors lived. The Hadza in Tanzania, the Ake in Paraguay, the Martu in Australia, spend between 15 and 20 hours per week on all survival activities combined. Hunting, gathering, food preparation, everything. 15 to 20 hours. Per week. Not per day. Per week. The average modern worker does that in 2 days. And then does it again. And again. For 40 years. When anthropologist Marshall Solins first published these findings in the 1960s, the academic world did not want to accept them. The assumption had always been that ancient life was desperate. A brutal scramble for survival from morning to night. But the data told a completely different story. Solins called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society. Not because they had possessions. Because they had time. More free time per day than most modern humans will experience in their entire lives. Now here is the question that follows immediately from that. If ancient humans were not working, what were they actually doing? Before we answer that, we need to address something. There is a story most people believe about ancient life. That it was desperate, brutal, consumed entirely by survival. Thomas Hobbes famously called primitive life nasty, brutish, and short. But when you look at the actual evidence, the bones, the artifacts, the sites, a completely different picture emerges. Consider what archaeologists have found buried in the ground across the world. In southern France, deep inside a cave system, explorers discovered paintings that are approximately 30,000 years old. The images show animals, depicted with such skill that the animals appear to be in motion. Perspective, depth, anatomical accuracy. This was not someone scratching marks on a wall. This was an artist, someone who had studied the animals they painted, who understood light and shadow, who spent considerable time creating something with no survival value whatsoever, just beauty. In South Africa, archaeologists uncovered tiny shells with holes carefully pierced through them, dating back 100,000 years. The coastline where those shells came from was more than 20 kilometers away. Someone made a journey specifically to collect them, then spent hours creating what can only be described as jewelry. In Germany, a musical instrument carved from the hollow bone of a large bird was found preserved in sediment dating back 40,000 years. Multiple holes, deliberately placed, calibrated for pitch. Someone understood music deeply enough to engineer an instrument, and spent the time to make one. These discoveries point to the same conclusion. Ancient humans were not desperate. They had enough time and enough security to create art, music, and adornment for tens of thousands of years. So let us walk through what a day actually looked like. Dawn. Your eyes open with a light. No alarm pulled you out of sleep. Your body decided when it was ready. The remains of last night's fire are still warm. Someone feeds it. The first conversation of the day begins. Not about productivity. Not about goals or targets or what needs to be achieved. Just people, talking, while the world wakes up around them. Children are present. Not sent away to a separate building to be taught by strangers. Present. Watching everything, absorbing everything, learning by existing in the middle of adult life. This is how human children learned for 290,000 years. Not in classrooms. In life itself. Mid-morning. The work begins. But here is something that will surprise you. It does not begin every day. If food from yesterday's hunt is still available, there is no hunt today. If the gathering spot was visited 2 days ago and yielded well, there is no gathering today. Ancient humans did not work on a schedule. They worked in response to genuine need. And when there was no genuine need, they did not manufacture one. On days without a hunt, the morning might be spent on tools. A spear that needs resharpening. A basket that needs repairing. a piece of flint being shaped into something useful. These tasks required real skill, real concentration, real knowledge passed down through generations. The people doing them were not primitive. They were craftspeople with deep expertise in materials, techniques, and design that most modern humans have completely lost. On days when hunting does happen, it looks nothing like the dramatic chase most people imagine. Ancient humans hunted through endurance, not speed. We jogged after animals, steadily, persistently, for hours, because we are the only animal on Earth that can regulate body temperature effectively while running in heat. Other animals overheat. We do not. So we simply kept going until they could not. A successful hunt might take 3 to 6 hours from departure to return. Then the animal is brought back. Everyone eats. And the productive part of the day is done. Early afternoon. And here is the part that modern people struggle most to accept. Nothing urgent happens. People rest. Not because they are lazy, because their bodies need it. The energy dip that most people feel between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. is not a personal failing. It is a biological rhythm that has been running in the human body for hundreds of thousands of years. A signal to slow down, to let the morning's activity integrate. Ancient humans listened to that signal. Modern humans drink another coffee and push through it. During this quiet afternoon period, social bonds are maintained. People sit together, talk, tend to children, make small things, carve decorative patterns into objects, string shells into necklaces. These afternoon hours are not wasted. In a world where survival depends entirely on the quality of your relationships, time spent strengthening those relationships is as important as time spent finding food. Perhaps more important, because when you are injured, when the hunt fails, when illness strikes, it is the people around you who keep you alive. Not your individual skill, your tribe. Late afternoon. Activity picks up again as the heat fades. Tools are made or repaired with more concentration than was possible in the midday warmth. Knowledge is transferred between generations. An elder shows a younger person how to read the weather in cloud formations, how to identify the track of a specific animal in specific soil conditions, how to find water in a landscape that appears dry. This knowledge, accumulated over thousands of years, refined across countless generations, represented one of the most sophisticated bodies of practical intelligence ever assembled by human beings. And it lived entirely in human memory, passed from person to person, generation to generation, beside fires and under trees, and while walking across landscapes that those people knew more intimately than most modern humans know their own streets. Evening. Fire every night, without exception. And this is where something happens that modern life has almost completely eliminated. The group gathers, not to consume entertainment produced by strangers, to produce it themselves. Stories. Researchers studying hunter-gatherer groups found that once darkness fell and the fire was lit, the nature of conversation changed completely. Daytime talk was practical. Evening talk was narrative. Stories about the group's history. Stories about what happened to people who broke certain rules. Stories that explained the world. Stories that made everyone laugh. Stories about people who had done extraordinary things. This is not entertainment in the modern sense. This is the transmission of culture, of values, of identity, of everything the group believed about itself and the world. For 290,000 years, this is how human beings pass knowledge between generations. Not through books, not through schools, through stories told around fires by people who knew exactly who they were talking to. And when sleep came, it did not come the way you experience it. Ancient humans slept in 2 separate phases. Several hours of deep sleep in the early part of the night, then a natural waking period, an hour or 2 of quiet consciousness in the darkness. Time for reflection, for quiet conversation, for lying still and thinking. Then a second phase of deep sleep until dawn. This pattern has been documented across historical records from multiple cultures and confirmed by sleep researchers studying people in environments without artificial light. It is not insomnia. It is the natural human sleep architecture that existed for almost all of human history. The single unbroken 8-hour block that modern people try to achieve is itself the anomaly. Invented not by biology, but by the Industrial Revolution's need for workers to be available at fixed hours. So the full picture of an ancient human day looks something like this. Dawn brings connection, conversation, fire, food shared together. Mid-morning brings purposeful activity, hunting, gathering, or skilled craft work. Afternoon brings rest and social investment. Evening brings the deepest form of human connection, shared stories around fire. and night brings sleep in two natural phases with a quiet wakeful period between them. 4 to 6 hours of purposeful activity. 6 hours of genuine human connection. 8 hours of natural sleep. And the remaining hours, simply existing. Without needing to justify that existence through output. Without measuring it against anyone else's productivity. Without a phone in their hand pulling them away from the moment they were actually in. We are more than halfway through this video. Before we continue, we want to know something. If you only had to work 3 to 5 hours a day, what would you do with the rest of your time? Drop it in the comments right now. Be honest. Because the answers reveal something important about what we actually want versus what we have been told to want. Then 12,000 years ago, the trap was set. Agriculture arrived in the Fertile Crescent, and it solved one problem while creating a dozen others. More food could be produced in one place, which meant more people could be fed, which meant the population grew, which meant more food was needed, which meant more farming, which meant the people doing it could never leave. Hunter-gatherers moved when an area was depleted. They followed food. They were free in the most fundamental sense, free to go anywhere. Farmers were anchored. Their investment in the land, the months of labor, the stored grain, the permanent structures, made leaving impossible. They were tied to a place. And the skeletal record tells what that did to them. Early farming populations showed significantly more physical wear than their hunter-gatherer predecessors. Their bones carried the marks of repetitive labor. Their teeth showed the damage of grain-heavy diets. They were shorter. Their joints failed sooner. They died younger. The invention of agriculture, the thing we call the beginning of civilization, made most individual human lives demonstrably harder. More food for the group, less freedom, less health, and less time for the individuals producing it. Specialization followed. When farming created surplus, some people were freed from food production to do other things. Potters, weavers, soldiers, priests, administrators, people who did only one thing, and who therefore needed everyone else to do everything else. Dependency replaced self-sufficiency. Hierarchy replaced egalitarianism. And employment, the idea that one person's time could belong to another person in exchange for survival resources, was born. Not from progress, from the slow, accumulated weight of a system that nobody designed and nobody chose. It simply grew, one compromise at a time, over thousands of years, until the life that humans had lived for 290,000 years was so far in the past that most people cannot even imagine it. The morning you woke up today, you woke up inside that system. The alarm that pulled you out of sleep was invented to serve it. The box under the fluorescent lights was built to feed it. The 90,000 hours you will spend working are its price. And the life you are working toward, the quiet mornings, the unhurried afternoons, the evenings spent with people you actually love doing things that actually matter to you. That was not the reward your ancestors worked toward. That was simply how they lived. Every day, without earning it first. Here is the good news. You do not have to leave the system to reclaim some of what was lost. 3 things. Starting today. 1. Protect 1 hour of unstructured time every week. Not scheduled. Not productive. Not optimized. 1 hour where you do whatever your body actually wants to do. Walk without a destination. Sit without a purpose. Make something for no reason. Your ancestors would recognize that hour immediately. 2. Eat 1 meal a day with people you care about. No screens on the table. No phones beside the plates. The shared meal around fire was the most important social ritual in human history for 290,000 years. Its modern version costs nothing and takes 30 minutes. And it does more for human well-being than almost any supplement, therapy, or productivity system ever invented. 3. When the work is done, stop. Not eventually. Not after 1 more email. Ancient humans did not carry their work into their rest. The hunt ended. The gathering was done. And then life began. Your nervous system was designed for exactly that boundary. And every time you dissolve it, you pay a cost your body was never designed to absorb. Our ancestors did not have a job. They had a life. They woke every morning with one question. What should we do today? And the answer was never someone else's to give. That life is still inside you. You just have to let it back in. If this video made you feel something, hit the like button. Share it with someone who is stuck in the 9 to 5 and cannot remember why. And tell us in the comments, if you could work 3 to 5 hours a day, what would you do with the rest of your time? We genuinely want to know. Subscribe to Better Instincts. Because next week, we are asking a question that will make you look at your own body completely differently. See you then.